I'd like to read some scripture for you all. This is from the book of Mark, and Jesus is talking to people about their traditions and commandments, and he's also talking about what defiles a person, right? So if you remember, earlier we were talking about how our body basically functions as a plumage system, and it's up to you to maintain basically a clean flow, right? So you want to avoid harboring anything that should not be in there, whether that's hatred, envy, anger, unforgiveness, all of those things. So Mark chapter 7, and I'm going to start from verse 14, if you're curious of the address of this text. And he called the people to him again and said to them, "Hear me, all of you, and understand. There is nothing outside a person that by going into him can defile him. But the things that come out of a person are what defile him." And when he had entered the house and left the people, his disciples asked him about the parable. And he said to them, "Then are you also without understanding? Do you not see that whatever goes into a person from outside cannot defile him, since it enters not his heart but his stomach, and is expelled? Thus he declared all foods clean. And he said, what comes out of a person is what defiles him. For from within, out of the heart of a man, come evil thoughts, sexual immorality, theft, murder, adultery, coveting, wickedness, deceit, sensuality, envy, slander, pride, foolishness. All these evil things come from within, and they defile a person." So I'm going to stop right there. And there's a couple of things I want to point out. Within this series, we talked about nutrition, and we talked about how it's important to be mindful of what you feed your body in terms of what you eat is one aspect. And here we just read how Jesus proclaimed that all foods are clean. Something to really comprehend here is it is still important to watch what you eat. If you are not familiar with the story of Daniel, I encourage you to read that. And you might have heard something about a Daniel fast if you've never fasted or you're not too familiar with that aspect. But in that story, and I won't share too much because I want you guys to read it for yourself, but Daniel refrains from eating anything that tastes good. He's eating vegetables and fruits, and that's it. And one of the things he says in that story, and I'm paraphrasing, he didn't even have a piece of sweet bread, right? He had nothing pleasurable to eat because he was seeking the Lord. He was seeking the Lord. So he denied himself of any good food. But in that time of going through all this misery of not eating anything, quote unquote, good, at least for us, something that brought his taste buds pleasure, he drew very, very close to God in that time. And God saw his sacrifice and came to him. What am I trying to get at by saying that? I'm saying that it is still important to be mindful of what you're putting in your temple, because our bodies are temples, and we need to take care of them. We need to upkeep them. We need to make sure we are maintaining them in the right way. And so going back to this text where Jesus is talking to people and really helping them understand the matters of the heart, which is what is the most important thing to ensure that your temple is clean and your house is clean and your sewage system is clean, right? So Jesus is describing to folks, he's saying, hey, you can eat anything you want. That's not what's going to mess up your heart. The issue of the heart is when you're harboring all these things in this list here, he says, for from within, out of the heart of man come evil thoughts, sexual immorality, theft, murder, adultery, coveting, wickedness, deceit, sensuality, envy, slander, pride, foolishness. All these evil things come from within, and they defile a person. So what does that mean for us? And I'll tell you guys about an experience I've had recently. Whenever I begin to feel, and for lack of a better word, I'll use this word, tainted. And when I say tainted, I mean nowadays I at least I try not to cuss. I nothing's wrong with people who are still in the space of doing that, not talking bad about anybody that does. But for me and where I'm at in my walk, I need to be mindful of my speech. And my consistent prayer is to honor the Lord, not just by what I do, but by what I say. And so for me, everyone has an individual relationship. For me, that type of language is not honoring him. So I try to refrain from it. And when I do find myself using that language, immediately I seek to find the source. So when I say that, I mean I'm looking for where the ill blood is in my heart. Where did I go wrong? What feeling am I harboring in my heart to make me A, think this way, and B, use that kind of language? And this, you can apply this with anything. I'm just giving you guys a real life example, because there are people out there that struggle with this. If you're a person that struggles with envy, if you struggle with if you're a person that struggles with envy, if you're a person that struggles with pride, and pride, it can be a little bit harder to recognize sometimes, because you know what? You can become so blinded by your pride that you don't even recognize that you suffer from pride. But the point I'm trying to make, guys, is it is a matter of the heart. So if you are going through a time where you feel tainted, like I said before, right? You see somebody and you see what they have, and you're coveting, you're envious of what they have. You're not wishing them well or anything. Maybe you wish them well with your lips, but in your heart, you're jealous. That's wrong. And it's at that point that you need to seek and search and find and say, okay, what is going on in me? Where is that stemming from? Where is that feeling stemming from? What am I harboring in my heart to make me feel this way about this person? So that's something that it takes time. It takes you humbling yourself. So it's not something that happens overnight by any means, but over time, you just take it one day at a time, one thing at a time, and really begin to just seek within yourself, search, and try to understand why you are feeling the way you feel. People that feel the need to talk bad about somebody, why? Why? Is it because there's something about yourself that you don't feel good about? And so talking about somebody else makes you feel better? I mean, I'm just being real, guys. I'm giving you real life examples, because these are things that go on every day. So encourage you all to take some time to really reflect on some of these things I've listed, Mark chapter 7, and the list begins in verse 21. It goes through verse 21 all the way up to 23, but I strongly encourage you all to read that verse and to really meditate on it. This is not a means of saying that, well, you're wrong and you need to fix it. No, I want you guys to have peace in your life. I want you to have joy. And this is a step that you need to take in order to achieve that. You need to rid yourself of any ill feelings that you are harboring in your heart, because guess what? It will manifest itself in your life. And sometimes it does it in a way that you don't even recognize it. So let's avoid that. Let's begin to find ways to get peace in our life, to get joy, to get happiness. So send us a message. I'm curious, if you are struggling with any type of ill feeling, how do you deal with it? What are the steps that you take to identify the feeling, and what are the steps that you take to really go deep within yourself to understand why you feel that way? And then what do you do about it? How do you combat that? So send us a message at theplugspodcast@gmail.com, or you can shoot us a message on our website, theplugspodcast.com. See you guys soon.